Hey folks, John Cantera, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter here. Looks like lost connection with my LinkedIn folks. Reconnecting there. So pardon the delay, folks. Hate to leave my LinkedIn friends out of this. Huh. Yeah. Not sure what's going on with LinkedIn. But
maybe it's bugging out on their end.
Yeah, I think it is. So I'm going to have to go into LinkedIn real quick and fix that while everyone else is kind of still hanging here for a second. Y'all get to listen to my hold music here while I try to get LinkedIn reconnected for everyone. Create. I'm going to do this a little bit differently here. I'm just going to go ahead and do a post with the link for YouTube. So folks who are watching off of or who want to watch off of LinkedIn, you have to go to my YouTube to catch this. I'm about to put the link up here in just one quick second here. Give me a moment. Videos live. Copy link. I gotta love doing live shows.
I think the fact that some people don't think they're live is hilarious and flattering.
Yeah, seriously. We do not take any time to edit this stuff. We are live now. Sorry, it's not working on LinkedIn. Go to our YouTube page. Okay, there it is. Repost that on my personal one. All right, there we go. So that is now up. Again, so sorry about that, folks. Go ahead and get thank you for the few of you who are currently watching. I'm John Cantera, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter. Welcome to Stop the Scam. I do apologize. Our originally planned show for today has been changed. Jason Rabine is not available to be able to talk to us today. That change was fairly last minute. So we have something else special for you today. But before we get started, Kate, I see you're in the car today. Where are you going?
Indiana, 1,000 miles.
Ugh, what's in Indiana?
My family.
Okay,
my whole family.
Right. For those who don't know, Kate's usually in Houston. So apparently she's headed home. Going to be home long?
Probably 2 weeks to a month. I'm going to stay for 2 weeks and then kind of reevaluate, see if I want to stay longer.
Ah, okay.
Maybe I'll just stay the rest of summer.
Is it getting too hot?
Yes.
Problem?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, I can't stand it. that place is not for people that were not born there.
Yeah, I lived in San Antonio for 3 years back in the early 2000s. And I remember the last year I was there, it got below 90 degrees for a daytime high only 1 month out of the entire year. It was just hot. It was freaking hot. It was hot as hell. Yeah, and I was in the military, so wearing my combat boots, or if I was wearing my blues, I had the core frame shoes, the super high polished shiny shoes, and my feet would broil if I was outside in the sun. It was insane. I hated parade days. I really did. But that's neither here nor there. With that being said, let's go ahead and get back to our plans for today. But before we do that, I do need to give a special shout out to our sponsor at AccuBid Pro. Now, AccuBid has been with us for quite some time, and their contract to sponsor us runs out this month. So this is the last show that AccuBid Pro is going to be sponsoring us. Jimmy, thank you so much for the time and the patience and the sponsorship. We greatly appreciate it. With that being said, one final time, whether you are a pro at this or you are a beginner, the only way to be able to survive in this industry is by managing your costs, and no one does it better than AccuBid Pro.
Tired of spending hours bidding on loads and second-guessing your profits? Introducing AccuBid Pro, the mobile app designed for the everyday owner-operator. We simplify load bidding, making it fast, accurate, and stress-free. Know your operating costs up front to ensure every load is profitable. Plus, for a limited time, enjoy a 30-day free trial. Stop guessing and start earning. Download AccuBid Pro today, available now in the App Store. Bid better with AccuBid Pro.
So we're going to work on rescheduling with Jason Rabine for another time. What we did manage to do, even though so last minute, a special prior guest, Danielle Spinelli, over at My Carrier Portal and Descartes, she has given us a green light to rebroadcast the webinar that she did on Thursday with Ken Riddle, the Director of Registrations at FMCSA. So for today's show, we are going to go ahead and run a recording of that. Kate and I are still going to be live. We'll be able to answer questions during the video. The video itself is about 45 minutes long. However, anytime we are able to talk to Ken at FMCSA is a good day. And from what I understand, there are some new things that FMCSA is doing. I have yet to see this video myself. I was originally supposed to attend this webinar last week, but I got sidetracked, waylaid by jackassery. If you get my meaning. In the meantime, we will go ahead and bring that up and get that started. Unless you got something you need to talk about, Kate.
No, I'm pretty sure one of my driver's loads just got canceled.
Ooh.
So
Never
that's great.
fun.
It was a 1 p.m. pickup appointment.
Oh, you've got to be kidding. Well, there better be a TONU with it. But even then, that's going to be really difficult to find a replacement load at this hour. Where are they?
Birmingham.
Ooh.
Birmingham really isn't that bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's definitely not bad.
True, but they're not known for late in the day loads.
Yeah.
So good luck to you and your dispatchers on that one. In the meantime, let's go ahead and bring the webinar up onto the stage. Okay, so this is after the introductions and whatnot. Danielle was going on about some things that MCP was doing. For our purposes, we are just going to be pushing out the portion with Ken Riddle. So we're going to go ahead and get that started here. Meantime, I'll mute my mic. If you have comments, please be sure to put your comments in the comments section. Also, if you'd like to provide additional support for what Kate and I do on the show, buy us a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com /Stop the Scam Podcast, and you can go ahead and send us a donation to help us improve with what it is that we do on this show. So with that being said, again, special thanks to Danielle Spinelli at My Carrier Portal for allowing us to rebroadcast this.
Thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So Ken was commissioned as second lieutenant in the U.S. Army in 1985. He's had over 30 years in the military career and rose up the rank of colonel and commanded at a company, platoon, and brigade levels. Hopefully I'm saying all this right. He had deployments to Bosnia, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And now he serves as the Director of Office of Registration at the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, as we know, FMCSA. So he's been working there for over a decade. Ken's made a lot of major efforts with FMCSA to really listen to the community within logistics and make enhancements. And so kind of like I mentioned earlier, if you guys do have questions for Ken, he's really great about answering things. That's why I'm so happy he's here. But if you do have questions, make sure it is concerning the registration level, because that's really where he'll be able to help it. All right, kind of going to have you take over from here, Ken. I'm going to go through the slides. Just tell me when I need to go next, okay?
Super. Thank you very much, Danielle. Appreciate the introduction, even though my mom's the only one that cares about that type of introduction. Thank you. A lot. First of all, let me just say I'm very impressed with the tools that you just shared. I wasn't that familiar with My Carrier Portal, but that's a lot of great tools to help out the industry. That's really impressive. Hopefully I can add to that because I've got a few new things to share. What I want to talk about today is where we are with the modernization of our registration system and a little bit about that system. But I'm going to start out with some of our fraud prevention efforts. Everyone knows fraud is a top priority right now. Fraud prevention is a top priority right now because fraud is coming at the commercial motor vehicle industry from every corner. It doesn't matter whether it's the insurance industry or the blanket company industry or a carrier or a broker. Fraud is occurring and it's rapid. And so we here at FMCSA are doing everything we can do, and we have a lot that we're working on to help mitigate some of that fraud. We got to do our part. So I'll share a few things with you this morning or this afternoon. Next slide, please, Daniel. Yep. So next slide. Identity verification is live now. For the past 18 months, I've been on a roadshow talking at various venues about identity verification and how we were going to roll it out with the new registration system that we're building. But what we determined is we can't wait. We can't wait on that new system because that's going to take some time to build. And we're well down the road with that new system and it's coming along great, but we couldn't wait. We needed to help now protect our registrants, protect the CMV industry. So we rolled out identity verification for new applicants only as part of our legacy registration system, what we call the unified registration system today. We can't yet roll it out for existing registrants because we need the new system to do that. But we were able to integrate it with our existing registration system. So bottom line is we're protecting the front door right now, and it's doing a good job of that. And I'll share some numbers with you. But what we need to do now that we're protecting the front door is go in and clean the inside of the house. And that will come with the new registration system. It is absolutely tied to our safety mission. Preventing fraudulent actors, bad actors, unsafe actors, preventing them from getting registration, keeping them off of the road is absolutely part of our safety mission here at FMCSA. So this fraud prevention and this new registration system is an absolute top priority. When we roll out the new system, everyone existing registrants and new registrants will have to go through identity verification. And that's one of the ways we're going to help clean house. You won't be able to get in to the new system to make changes to your record or to update your record or to do a binary update or anything else until you pass the identity verification. In addition, we are working on business verification. It's one thing to prove somebody's identity, prove that they are who they say they are. It's another thing to tie the individual to the business. Should they be registering that business? Is that business legitimate? Are they allowed to make changes to that business record? So we want to tie the individual to the business, and you need both checks to do that. So we're working on that contract, getting ready to award it. That'll help us with a business verification capability. We'll integrate that into the new system and roll them both out at the same time. So next slide, please. First of all, we contracted with for the identity verification. We contracted with a company called IDEMIA, I-D-E-M-I-A. IDEMIA is the same company that provides the identity verification at all of our TSA checkpoints at all of our airports around the U.S. So they are a well-known company, well-established, good at what they do, and we contracted with the exact same company. It's obviously a different model because when you're at the airport going through the TSA checkpoint, you're in person, getting a live picture taken of yourself. And when you're registering with FMCSA, you're at your kitchen table and you're uploading this stuff. You're uploading your credentials and your picture, and I'll talk to you about that process. In the existing application system, URS, Unified Registration System, you start the application, and when you get near the end, you'll come across this QR code. You're probably on your computer or your laptop filling out the application. And so when you get to the QR code, you have to pull out your phone or your iPad or another smart device and scan that QR code. When you scan that QR code, you are now in IDEMIA's environment, a web-based environment. There's no app to download or software to download. It'll take you straight to their environment. And that's where you will begin the identity verification process. It will ask you to scan a document. We are accepting 4 forms of ID, either a passport, a driver's license, a government-issued identity card, or a government-issued resident card. I should say that's what IDEMIA is. So one of those 4 forms of ID, you'll scan the front and back. It'll accept it. Then it'll ask you to scan your face. You will do a live scan of your face. It will help you with the instructions. It'll say, get closer, get further away, center your face, improve the lighting. The app will help you get through it. But it's got to be a live picture. It won't allow you to scan a picture, a photocopy or something like that. It's got to be a live picture of your face. Then you complete the process. You'll get a message from IDEMIA that says successfully completed. But that doesn't mean you pass. You got to go back to the registration system, URS, and hit a button to find out whether you passed or not. If you passed, you'll be allowed to proceed in the application process. If you don't pass, it will not let you go forward. And I'll talk to you about what happens if you don't pass and you're a legitimate person with a legitimate license. We have several levels of help for that. But I should add, though, that FMCSA nor IDEMIA stores any personal information at any time. As soon as the session is over with IDEMIA, IDEMIA dumps the information. So we're not storing it and they're not storing it. So the information is safe. Next slide, please. So here's some of the results of our identity verification thus far. We launched it on April 7th. This report goes through the end of June. I'm waiting on our July report. So 84 days worth of data. Bottom line is 88% of those that go through the identity verification process, new applicants, pass the first time through. About 7% fail for one reason or another, and another 5% are what we call ghost users. They started the process, but they did not finish it, but we record it. So, and we're also, with the 38,000, we're looking at unique users, which means a unique email address. The number is actually much higher than 38,000. but that's if you include bots, and bots are trying to get through the identity verification using variations of an email address. Some users will try multiple attempts to get through with different email addresses or the same email address, but we only want to count unique users, unique email addresses, and that's what the 38,000 represents. So it's a good news story, in my opinion, when 88% first time through. And I'll talk about what we do is 7%, those 2,700 failures. Next slide, please.
How many would you say is the spoofed or like the AI bots trying to push things through? Do you have any type of numbers on that?
We do. I'm not prepared to share that just yet, but I'll just say it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's wild.
But the great news is IDEMIA is stopping those bots. They don't get through. But
Cool.
There's numerous attempts. So 2,764 of the unique users failed the process. And when you fail, you call it a score, but we call it a level of assurance. Level of assurance being 0, all the way up to level of assurance 3. You have to have at least a 2 to pass. 1,200 of these were level of assurance 0. That means nothing matched. The face didn't match the credential. The credential didn't match the DMV template that issues it. The system of record check that IDEMIA does didn't validate the ID. So not much match. And they got level of assurance 0. That doesn't mean it's fraud, but it's likely fraud. It's an indication that it was a fraudulent attempt. And then level of assurance 1. There were, let's see, that's a low confidence level. That doesn't mean everything failed, but there was something wrong. Maybe the ID didn't look just right. And so it's possible fraud. And we had and so that's what the 2,764 represent. Is 55% of them are the level of assurance 1, but 45% are level of assurance 0. So what do you do when you fail and you need help? If you're part of that 55%, you're a good guy, you're legitimate and your ID is valid. What do you do? So next slide, please. The first step is you call our contact center, and our contact center will ask for the error code. IDEMIA, when you finish the IDEMIA session, go back to the application and hit the button. It will give you an error code if you do not pass. The new applicants need to remember that error code, because when you call the contact center, they're going to ask for that error code, and they have a cheat sheet and they can look up and find out why you failed. Maybe it's the ID was expired. Maybe the lighting wasn't right. But there's many reasons why you could fail. They'll help you figure that out, and then they'll help you pass. And 67% of those that call the contact center pass after talking to them. But then there's a third of the people that still can't pass even after talking to our contact center. And so we refer them to an IDEMIA enrollment center. We contracted for 300 IDEMIA enrollment centers around the U.S. Probably not enough in the end, but enough to get started. We're at 131 today and growing rapidly. We didn't wait to get all 300 established before we went live. But we're at 131 and we're growing to 300. And if you need help beyond our contact center, you can go to an enrollment center and they'll help you through the process. Here's the limitation though. The enrollment center run by IDEMIA can only help you with one of 3 things. Scanning the QR code, if for some reason you can't do that. Scanning your face or scanning your ID. That's the only thing they can help with. They can't tell you why you fail if you fail. You got to call our contact center for that. They can't help you with the application, the URS application. They can only help you with one of those 3 things and help you through that IDEMIA process, which doesn't take long and is pretty easy to do. And the majority of people do it at their kitchen table. But people have visited the enrollment centers, have gotten the help they needed, and some of those have passed. And some of those have continued to fail. What happens if you've caller contact center and continue to fail, visit an enrollment center and continue to fail, then you get referred to our office. And we have a person here in our office that will manually verify your identity. And we have tools to do that, and then manually process your application. And it's not a lot that we do that for, but if necessary, we will do that. So bottom line is we're not going to let somebody just not be able to get through the identity verification process when they are, in fact, a legitimate individual with valid credentials. So we're here to help our customers. But there's a lot that shouldn't get through, and they don't get through. And that's the good news. It's working. It is protecting that front door.
That's amazing. And even whenever you made the updates of not using virtual addresses, that shut off X amount of people too. That was a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying we are continuing to improve our principal place of business requirements
Right.
within our authorizations, within our authorities, like you cannot put a UPS UPS store address in the app anymore. You can't put a PO box in there. It will detect most virtual addresses. So we are continuing to work on that process to keep bad addresses out of the system as well, for those that want to try to avoid detection.
Yeah, and that I know makes a big difference. Starting with the registration at least keeps the bad guys out the front door, like you said. So awesome.
So jumping, if you want to learn a little bit more, you actually want to see the process. You go to the FMCSA website, and there's a registration menu at the top. You click on registration, it'll take you to this page right here. And in the lower right-hand corner is ID verification. We actually have a video of the process, the identity verification process, showing how to go through it. We have a fact sheet on there. We've got FAQs on there. So there's some more information about ID verification that's on that website. Next slide, please. Now we're going to jump into the registration system update. We're well on our way developing a new system. It's going to take all these systems here you see on the screen, the portal, URS, LNI, MCNIS, all those systems, and combine them into one-stop shopping. These systems are not necessarily intuitive. They're not necessarily user-friendly, and they are old. And our registration system today is over 30 years old. That's LNI and MCNIS. And we've got to modernize. We've got to modernize to make it more stable, make it more secure, and make it more intuitive for our customer. So next slide, please. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're building that. It's called MOTUS, M-O-T-U-S. It's
I want to chime
word
in
for,
before we
motion,
go on.
the word motion. And that's what we.
I've always.
Sorry about that. What was that?
I want to chime in on that whole section before we move on, because I've always had I really just want to just speak this out so that it's kind of on record and I can go back later and remember these things and maybe ask the questions. I think there are good things and bad things about virtual addresses. Yes, way too many people use virtual addresses to evade being found or something, or because they're not doing things properly or with good intention. So the other side of that is there are people that use virtual addresses because, like, I had a client that he had a virtual address on his authority because he didn't have a home. I don't want to say they were homeless, but when they went, it was him and his wife, they traveled together, and when they went home, for lack of a better term, they went and stayed with family. They stayed with her mother-in-law or something. They were gone so much, they were just out. That was their way of living. They just stayed out for months on end, and they went home to do maintenance on the truck or something. So they didn't have a physical address of their own to use. They would have had to use families or something, and they didn't feel comfortable doing that. So they used a virtual address. But the other side of that is, how do you know who is using that with good intent or not? You know, so because anybody can tell a story, but I don't know. I just kind of wanted to chime in and put that out there. I've also heard people say that they use a virtual address out of just for like a safety precaution, because they don't, there are a lot of people who are, I mean, we say it all the time when it comes to things like freight guards, do things out of just an emotional reaction, and just to protect their own safety, they don't put their personal address on their authority. They use a virtual address. But the other thing was, so on your authority, you have a physical address and a mailing address, and they can be different. But I wonder if when he's talking about the no virtual addresses, no PO boxes or anything like that, surely he's only referring to the physical address as far as like PO box thing goes, because people do have a PO box. A lot of people don't get mail straight to their home. So would that be
That is
a
correct.
potential flag? Would that be a potential flag to, you know, I don't know, in the eyes of the FMCSA, if they saw a mailing address having a PO box on it? That
I don't believe it does. As I understand it, the law states that you have to have a physical place of business, and that that primary place of business has to be a site that an FMCSA inspector can show up at any time and be able to talk to somebody at the company. So that does need to be something that that someone at FMCSA can actually go, or DOT can go and reach out and make contact by walking in a physical door. That is by federal law. That is a requirement, and there is no getting around that. I understand the security issues that people have. I hate to say it, get over it. You own a business, and that business is a public business.
yeah.
You know, you're providing a service to the public, which is why your information is available on a public forum. So sorry, if you want to keep your residence private, or keep where you work private, don't be in transportation. That's I don't want to sound like I'm being cold or callous here, but that's the truth of the matter.
So another part of, or another thing that kind of came to mind is the cracking down on the addresses thing, which I think is fantastic. I think that's great. Whether, I mean, if you have to put your personal address on there and you don't feel like it because you're scared or whatever, that's just part of it. I agree. Another thing that people do, though, as we have personally seen, is when people consistently go out, and it's a common thing among chameleon carriers, they will have a company file their paperwork for them, and that company who does the filing of the paperwork will use the company address as the address listed on the authority when they file for it, and it stays like that. So I wonder how that's, and he did mention briefly tying in the actual business to the authority, because it's not enough to just go in and change your MCS 150. It's two separate things. You know, your business, like I have a business, my Heartland Freight Group is its own business with its own EIN. That EIN is tied to me as well as the authority. So they those two things have to match. But I wonder if that is going to be part of it too. If they're going to go in and see where people go in and file their LLCs, where they have somebody else, you know, they pay a company to do that. Are they going to check to make sure that that address matches the authority? And I don't know. I'm just kind of curious to see how all that goes.
I know that brokers, when they're going and they're looking at those types of things, they're looking for a match. So
Mhm.
if a carrier uses a third party to set them up with the Secretary of State, or uses a third party to file the documents with DOT on their behalf, you have an agent that would do that. Do not let the agent put the agent's address and information as your company's address and information.
But so
That
many
is going
times
to
that's what
draw a
they
red
do.
flag. That will draw a red flag. It may not draw a red flag at FMCSA. I'm not certain on that. Again, I wish Ken was live and he could answer that question for us. But I do know that most brokers, if a broker sees that when they're evaluating a carrier, they will reject the carrier. Okay, carriers, you have to take ownership of your company. If you let somebody else have their name as an agent, then use also their address as your business address, that's a problem. Because two reasons. One, a DOT inspector will walk into that building and can't find you. That's going to be an issue. Two, oh Christ, I completely lost my my train of thought here. The other issue that most brokers are going to have is that Christ, I was hoping it would come to me.
It's okay. We'll just go in later and edit it out. Like
Yeah, unfortunately, we're live, so it's kind of hard to sit there and turn around and edit that stuff. But yeah, carriers rule. The best thing to do is to use your own address. Oh, I remember the other thing now. It will then constitute multiple MC numbers at the same address, which is
yeah,
always a red flag.
and yeah, that in and of itself is a flag. Ooh, getting
I mean,
some slugs.
when I started my carrier company, I used to consult paperwork for me, and I paid them, I don't know, $500, which included my $300 registration plus $200 to them for filing all the paperwork. And yeah, but they used my addresses. They didn't use their own. Yes, they were listed on the Secretary of State as an agent for me, but the principal place of business was still my business on Artley Road in Savannah. So no, they did it the right way. So you need to pay very close attention if you are a carrier to make sure that your documentation reads the right thing. Otherwise, you will wind up on somebody's radar at some point. If not FMCSA's, because FMCSA is behind the curve, we all know that. If not on FMCSA's, you will wind up on the radar of a broker. That answer your questions?
My questions?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would just
For the most
I would want to hear it. I would want to hear it from the FMCSA. I want them to like whatever. I don't know, and I guess I'll see it for myself when I go in and do the ID verification, which makes sense why I wasn't able to update my MCS 150 the other day.
Yeah, another thing to point out, folks, if you're watching this live, we will get a chance to ask those questions again. I am actually going to be interviewing the new director of the FMCSA, Director Derek Bars. He went through his confirmation hearing just last week with the Senate. I will be interviewing him in Jacksonville on December 11th of this year. So it will be broadcast live. If not us at Stop the Scam, it will certainly be broadcast through the Freight Fraud Task Force. One or the other, it will go through live, and I will run it on my own Facebook, or sorry, my own LinkedIn page as well, so that folks can see that live. Okay, so that is December 11th. We'll be putting that out. And so in the meantime, let's go ahead and get back to the video. And yeah, stop me if you have any more questions.
We've named the system, and it's going to combine all these things into one system so you have one-stop shopping. We want it to be user-friendly. We want it to be intuitive. So I think you'll find it a much better system than what we have today. And you won't have to go through the portal to make changes to your record. They can all be done via Modus. Next slide, please. So we're going to roll this out in phases. Phase 1, which we are targeting for 2025, is to onboard third parties so that they are ready to support the rest of the industry. And when I say third parties, I mean one of 3 different entity types. Either insurance provider, so you file financial responsibility for carriers and commercial insurance for carriers, or maybe you file bonds or trust funds for the brokers and the freight forwarders. But if you file financial responsibility for the C&B industry, you're one of these 3 supporting companies. The second one is process agent companies, blanket companies, as we like to call them. They are a supporting company, a third party. And then lastly is our industry service providers. All those organizations, businesses out there that provide a multitude of services to the industry. They'll do the registration for you. They'll register you for IRP and IFTA and UCR, and all that kind of stuff. Those service providers are one of those third parties. We need to onboard those 3 types of entities first, get their account set up so they're in turn ready to support the rest of the industry. That's phase 1, targeted for 2025. Phase 2 is opening the system to everybody, new applicants and existing registrants. And I'm not going to give you a date for that because I don't have a date right now. We got more work to do, and I don't want to over promise and under deliver. It'll be nice if we can get that done in 2025, but I'm not going to put a date on that just yet. And then third is continuous improvement, continuous launches. Not everything will be in the initial launch, the phase 2. Some of it will come in the future steps, things that we want, what we need to do is get a more stable, more secure system on the street quick. Then we can add bells and whistles to it. And that's what I'm talking about with phase 3 is we'll start adding the bells and whistles. I wanted everything on the initial release, but I had to take an appetite suppressant so that we could get it on the street quicker.
No, we're excited to have it out there. That's pretty awesome.
So I've also been talking about this. This is kind of more like all the bells and whistles, all the things I wanted the new system to do. Then when we do launch, it will do all the basic functionality. It'll register new applicants. Existing registrants can go in and do all their updates, whether it be a name change, a binary update, or something else. They'll be able to go in and do that within Modus. Every user of the system will have an account. So unlike today, a carrier or a broker will be able to go in and see their account. They'll be able to see their registrations, what the status of those registrations are, whether they have insurance filed, any letters that FMCSA has sent them, any certificates that we've sent you, will all be within your account. It seems new. It's not new for the rest of the world. It's just new for us. Is the idea of every user having their account, and every user will manage their own account. We will not manage the account. Users will be able to add people to their account to have access to it, or delete people so they don't have access to it. And so users will manage their own account. Every insurance company or blanket company will have their own account. They'll be able to see who they file for. Now, we have filed all these policies for these carriers, or we have filed BOC3s for all these carriers from a process agent. So lots will be in release 1. There's a few things that we're not going to do that I said we were going to do, and I kind of want to correct the record now because we've made a change. Next slide, please. We, like I said, been on a road show for the last 18 months. And part of that presentation was we're going to do away with docket numbers, MC numbers. We're going to issue safety registration, and we're going to change the BOC3 filing process. We are not going to do those things upon the initial launch. Those will wait. We heard from industry. Industry said, we've got concerns about these 3 things. One is my business process, my business operations are built around the MC number. you can't just do away with it. They said, safety registration, what is that? We don't even know what safety registration is. And then the BOC3, the blanket company, said, you're changing my customer acquisition process if you change the way BOC3s are filed. So we heard everybody, and we are going to put the brakes on these three things. We are going to communicate more with industry, put out more information about these things, and we are not going to implement them right away. I won't say we're never going to implement them, but they're not going to be in the initial releases of the MODIS system. So we listened and we made this change.
Do you feel like it's a good start phasing away from MCs by asking for DOT numbers instead? Or do you feel like this is still far enough away where it's okay?
Yeah, I think if I were a business and my IT systems and my business models were built around, the MC number, that I would start thinking about how do I shift that to the DOT number, the US DOT number. It's not going to happen in days or weeks or months. So they've got time, but I would start thinking about it.
Yeah, it's a big switch over whenever they do that.
Yes. This, just a few screenshots of what the system might look like. These are a little bit dated. It'll actually look a little better than this, but I wanted to give you a feel for some of the stuff we're building. So, I said every user is going to have a profile, including all the supporting companies, the third parties out there. This one happens to be on the third parties. What are you? Are you an insurance filer? Are you a blanket company? Or are you a service provider? And that takes you to where you need to go. Next slide, please. This is, it'll be easy to upload documents in the new system. Just drag and drop or, choose the file, just like every other system you use in today's world. So we're going to make it part of the new system. Real easy to upload documents if you need to upload supporting documentation. Next slide, please. This is what a business account page may look like. It'll have a little bit more information than this, but basic company information at the top. It'll have your registrations listed and the status of those registrations, and insurance information and other things. So this one's a little bit dated, but get the idea. Everyone will have their own account where they can go in and see their information and manage their information. Next slide, please. This talks about managing access to your account. Everyone will manage their own account. If you need to add a user to your account, you would put in their email address, indicate what they are. It would send them a notification. They can accept, and then they'll have access to your account. But you manage it. FMCSA will not manage that for them. Next slide.
But sorry, would they have to go through the ID stuff as well by being an added user? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody that touches the system for the first time will have to go through that ID verification and business verification. It's once you do it one time, it's tied to your login.gov credentials, and you won't have to do it a second time. However, in future releases, we are looking at AI technology or certain triggers that might make you go through it again. If you're going to go in there and change your business address for the third time, you might have to go back through business verification. Or if you go in and change your name, we're going to send you back through identity verification. So we're going to build in certain triggers and hopefully get some AI help with that so that we try to stay one step ahead of the fraudsters. This just shows you we're going to embed help within the system. So when you're filling out the application, you can click on chat or talk or email and have direct access to our contact center to make it just a lot easier. And next slide, please. And just like the ID verification, if you go to the FMCSA website and click on registration at the top, it'll take you, you'll see one of those icons is Resources Hub, and that's where we're posting information about the new system. So we'll try to keep this updated as much as we can. And those three changes I talked about, like the MC number, we've posted that information right here on the website. So Danielle, I'm happy to answer questions. That's the end of the presentation.
Perfect. All right, let's pop in the chat here. We have some in here already. Hold on. And I know I have
Okay,
Kat
we're
on
going
my
to
team
go
too.
ahead
Go
and
throw
keep
some in the
going
speaker
through
chat, but I
the
feel like we need to go through
Q&A
that.
session as well.
I know we talked about the timeline rollout on verifying current users, so that we do not have yet. That will be coming phase 2, right?
Yes.
Will this stop the scams from the third-party providers? Let's hope so. I think kind of the biggest part with this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the whole idea of it's a brand new carrier and they're a bad guy. To me, that whole thing will go away, because if at least you know that this person who just started an MC is this person, right? So if something does happen,
I'm not going to say it'll eliminate it totally, because the thieves are smart. Oh my gosh, you know, they're always one step ahead of us and all the other companies that provide this type of fraud prevention services. The fraudsters seem to always be a step ahead, and we're going to work our darndest to try and stay ahead of them. So I think it'll stop the majority of it. It's definitely going to stop, you know, let's say an overseas actor from getting in, because they don't have U.S. credentials. And,
right.
you know, and we are, by the way, we are going to accept the Canadian and Mexican credentials as well. In the new, in fact, we do now as part of the IDEMIA. IDEMIA accepts them, I should say. But if you're a foreign entity trying to get in the system for fraudulent purposes, they won't be able to pass the identity verification.
And is it grabbing the location of where they took the picture at? Does it do that?
It eventually will. I don't know exactly when it'll do that, but that is one of those improvements that that we're looking to add on, is grabbing the IP address so that we know where it's coming from.
Yeah, we had to do that with our VIN verification. It made a big difference. Okay, what else do we got here? So hold on, sorry, I'm trying to read everything. So is there any plans on making changes with dispatch services, do you know, as far as like registration, or I guess anything that you know within FMCSA?
So FMCSA published a broker definition. We were told by Congress to clarify the definition of a broker and address dispatchers in that same breath. And so we published a guidance document, and this was a couple years ago, identifying who needs broker authority and who does not. And we specifically address dispatchers. Here's the problem. I'm not sure everybody's following that guidance. And so there's probably still actors out there doing broker operations that don't have broker authority. So I'm not sure what the next steps are. That is on our radar. And I think we plan to help with that in the future. But right now, that guidance was supposed to help mitigate that.
Yeah, I know I've heard of bills they're trying to pass through now and get through the first stages that will kind of have more structure behind it and more oomph to it, I guess, if somebody is caught doing the wrong thing. So as far as somebody selling or buying and selling MCs, I know that's kind of like the biggest thing that's happening right now. A lot of times they're not registering anything on, or like making a change online within FMCSA. Do you feel like even these updates would kind of help that too, because they're having to log in to do anything? Or do you feel like, what do you think on that?
I think we need more legislation.
Gotcha.
I cannot lobby Congress, but here's the problem. One, FMCSA does not regulate the sale of assets. And so if someone decides to sell their MC number and someone else sees that as a valuable asset, we can't stop that. In and of itself, it's not illegal. We have procedures you're supposed to go through for a transfer. If you're going to transfer your operating authority through a corporate merger or an official transfer operation, we have procedures to do that. The fraudsters are not following our procedures. They are buying an MC number. When they buy the MC number, they buy the MC number, the DOT number, the PIN number to the account, the cell phone number, the whole enchilada. And then they don't change anything. They begin operating as if they were that other owner. They assume the identity of the seller. That is a problem. And I think we're going to need some help solving that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see a silver bullet for that. It's a lot. I mean, the ID stuff and like facial recognition would be huge, but also you can't do that on every single stop, on every single thing ever.
Yeah.
Type
I
thing.
guess, if I'm going to do that and then assume the identity and not go in the system and make any changes, then I'm not going to go through identity verification until I get to a final update.
And by that time, typically they've already done all the bad things that they're wanting to do.
Yeah, I think there's help on that topic coming.
Yeah. Let's see here. Sorry, a lot of people are saying thank you and how awesome you are. Let's see here. Are multiple admins allowed per profile?
Well, per profile. So if, let's say you're a service provider and you have lots of people in your company providing services, you'll be an authorized user. And whoever the main account holder is will be able to add authorized users. So yes, there could be multiple people using the account. Each will have their own login.gov credential. Each will go through identity verification, but they'll be authorized to manage that account. If that answers the question.
Yeah, so there's different levels, I guess. There's like the owner and then the trickling down type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Will the updated FMCSA registration process have all vehicles listed or registered to the carrier? And then will it specify if it's owned or leased vehicles?
No, but we would like to do that someday. Right now, as you know, as part of the registration system, we only collect number of power units. We don't collect vehicle VINs or anything like that. We leave that to the DMVs, issuing the CDLs, issuing the registration, to track VIN numbers. However, there's nothing, as we, FMCSA, modernize all of our systems, this only happens to be the second system we're modernizing. We did SafeSpec not long ago. Now we're doing the registration system. We're going to continue modernizing, and those systems will start to talk to each other. There's no reason why the registration system cannot track VINs or drivers. We just don't collect it. It would change constantly anyway. And that doesn't mean we can't track it from another system. So how cool would it be one day where someone enters 10 power units, 10 CMVs in the registration form, and it says, whoa, wait a minute. You reported 5 to the UCR, you reported 2 to the IRP, and you reported 11 to the DMV.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen, especially with a modernized system that can talk to each other.
And even like the safety inspection data too would kind of flow more easily to talk to each other, because that I know is difficult to find.
Yes, and that is part of the plan.
Somebody said in here like Gmail email addresses should not be allowed, but to push that into a question, is there anything different that you guys do as far as identifying if it is like a Gmail account rather than a domain email, or is everything treated the same?
We can't limit the email service that an individual. We have 800,000 registrants out there, and we can't dictate whether they use a Yahoo or a Gmail or some other email service. So we don't have that authority. We're going to validate emails, but we can't control what email service they use.
Perfect. And people are asking if this is going to be sent out. The recording will be sent out, and it will be on our website too, underneath the webinars. So be there. Sorry, I'm trying to bounce between Q&A and chat. Sorry.
Yeah, while you're looking at that, Danielle, I'll mention another thing about the system is if you're a service provider, the account, or let's say the carrier, and you support a carrier, that carrier is going to have to grant you access to their account in order for you to go in and do anything in their account. And if it's an initial registration, let's say a new applicant going in, here's something really different. The new applicant, the carrier, has to start the application. They have to fill in some basic profile information. They have to go through the identity and business verification. the service provider can't do that for them. At that point in time, after they pass, they'll get a question on the screen that says, do you want to continue and finish this application yourself? Or do you want to turn this over to a service provider to complete it on your behalf? If you want someone else to complete it on your behalf, you would type in their account number. They'll get a notification saying, so-and-so ABC carrier has just designated you as their service provider. Do you accept? Yes, I accept. Now you have access to their account. But not until that carrier starts the application and goes through the verification process. And even if they turn it over to a third party to finish, the carrier has to come back in at the end and sign the oaths and certifications. The service provider will not be able to do that for them. So that is a major change for the industry, at least for new applicants, on how the process is going to work. And we have to do that. We got to identify, verify the identity in the business of the individual before we just accept the identity of a service provider. So we got to keep it secure.
So, and then if there is changes like that, is there going to be a different way of showing like an ownership change, I guess like on our end, for instance, like our system reads if there was contact changes, either company name, address, phone number, email, that type of thing is like a red flag. But would it show more of like no, this is an actual different admin or owner that's taken over, not just like a user?
I'd have to look in that. I don't think so. If someone went in and wanted to change the name of their company and we allowed them to keep the same DOT number because it was the same legal entity, I don't think there's a flag that says, hey, the name's been changed. You could see that through iterations of the record, but I don't think there's not initially. That's something we could think about, though.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see, I guess, just to know for sure it's not just like a update on something like a personnel change, but it's actually an ownership change.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one here. So they're talking about how the virtual addresses are going away. Have you guys been seeing for VoIP numbers, like whenever they're registering with a VoIP number, is there anything, I guess, to be done about that? I know the hard thing with VoIPs is that like a legitimate business usually uses a VoIP, but like if they're registering from like a smart device, would that pull up if they're like using a cell phone and not a VoIP number or anything like that?
It's on the list. I don't think it's going to be part of release 1 because of the identity verification and the business verification. That'll be less of a problem. But down the road, I think we need to address that as well.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I was showing documentation and stuff because there are a lot of businesses that do use VoIPs that are legit. So that one is kind of hard. Unfortunately, all the bad actors use it too, but that doesn't mean everybody who uses it is bad.
Right.
And then I guess whenever a motor carrier do they have to provide proof of power units that they are claiming? I guess either currently or in the future, can they just put down a number?
Not right now. It's we expect them to truthfully tell us how many power units that they have, but down the road we need to verify that. And we're talking about what other systems can we communicate with that would verify the number of power units. Because there's multiple places where you got to report your number of power units.
Yeah, so it has to all be, like you said, those systems talking to each other is going to be big. Where it's, hey, you put this here and that, not that there.
Yeah.
So here's a good one. Will it flag someone trying to register under multiple MCs or DOTs? So, and I know part of like the laws is that one person can technically have more than one business, but they have to tell you that it's like that. So will there be some back end protection in place if they're trying to, it's the same person, like identity wise, facial recognition, but they're not telling you about these other MCs?
Yeah. The new system will not let the same person get 2 DOT numbers, at least not without manual vetting. Because like you said, there's legitimate reasons. Someone owns multiple different businesses and they're each legal entities, maybe even in different states. So there could be a reason why they have multiple DOT numbers. But the system's not going to allow that without a manual check.
Interesting. That's going to be great. That's a big deal.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, I know there's a lot of other questions in here, but we'll kind of get wrapped up. I really appreciate you coming on. I'll go through these questions and then message Ken and kind of get back to everybody as well on, all the ones that I know he can answer. The ones I know he cannot answer, I'll try to get answers for you guys too. Like I said, I know Ken does most of the registrations, but there's tons of questions in here and I love it. So thanks everybody for joining. And like I said, this will be on our site, and we'll send out an email too. Ken,
Yeah,
any last words? Or
I just appreciate the opportunity, Danielle, to address your audience.
Definitely. And you will be at, I know, the Broker Carrier Summit. Are you going anywhere else to speak on this by the end of the year? Or I know you travel everywhere.
Yeah, there's a couple trips being planned right now. They're not approved yet, but working on them. So
yeah,
that's what I like to do, is get the word out.
Yeah, and I think that's big. I mean, especially with these type of changes, it makes a big difference to know exactly what is happening, because people do not read articles. I watch videos type thing. That's kind of the way of the world now. So I appreciate you coming on, and thank you everybody for joining. Next month's webinar is going to be more about like how to build relationships with your capacity and your carriers, and not necessarily going off the load boards, but how to better your carrier network so that you don't have to depend so much on load boards. So we'll be jumping into that next month. And if you guys have any questions, my email is listed on the screen here. Feel free to reach out to me, and have a good day, everybody. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
So that was the webinar that Danielle had last week with Ken Riddle, at Director of Registration at FMCSA. As you heard, there are some changes going on. There are some changes that have already gone into place, and they have a timeline over the course of the next year of things that they are doing to try to improve the registration process and mitigate the odds of bad actors from getting into things, including having service providers having their own registrations that they can get in FMCSA's portal that do require facial recognition through IDEMIA, etc. So these are all good things. I think steps are definitely going in the right direction. Is it a total fix? No, it's not. And Ken even admits that. But it is steps going in the right direction. It is still up to the industry and folks like Kate and myself to do what we can to try to fight these bad guys that are out there, to call these bad guys to the attention of FMCSA and get their investigators started working on some of these bad actors. I know there's a lot of chatter on social media, specifically about what was it? Happy or Hope. It was Hope Trans. Hope Trans was involved in an accident that took place in Texas that killed an entire family, and they are still operating today, which is absolutely mind-blowing that they're still operational, but they are. So that we're hoping that some of these issues will soon be addressed at FMCSA in terms of how to shut these bad actors down when it's not just they don't comply, but they really are flagrantly going against the rules. And I've got a cat sitting here going through my desk, tearing things apart as we are talking. Put your tail down. Thank you, Jack. So there's a lot of stuff going on at FMCSA to try to improve things. If you get the chance to go to Broker Carrier Summit or any of the truck shows, FMCSA has made a point in showing up to these venues and releasing information. We will try to get out to those venues as often as we can. I know the task force, the Freight Fraud Task Force, will be going out to these venues as often as they can as well. And I do expect to be going out with them and possibly doing some more live broadcasts from those locations when that information is being released. So lots of stuff going on at the federal level. Hopefully it will finally make a difference. For the last 4 years, we've not seen FMCSA do anything. So to see them now engaged is at least, if not too little too late, it's at least refreshing to see that they are doing something. And yet again, another tail blocking my camera. You gotta love this. All right, Kate, any closing thoughts you might have?
No, but on a sort of related note, I have been bouncing around the idea of helping my current drivers get a TWIC card. I mean, A, because it would be helpful, and B, because if that ever becomes like a necessary form of identification, they'll have it.
Well, I personally think that's a good thing. I know Dale Prax, if he were here in the room right now, he would be sitting there saying, TWIC card is the only way to
Quick
go.
card.
I know he thinks anyone who handles freight, whether they are a forklift operator or a logistics analyst at a shipper or whatever, they need to have TWIC cards because that at least gives them positive identity control. When you get a TWIC card, you're fingerprinted. You do go through facial recognition. And that TWIC card's good for 5 years. So when you look at the initial price tag of, I want to say it's $129. Maybe it's a little more now. Maybe it's about $150.
It's really not that. Yeah, it's really not that much.
It's for 5 years, and you get a background check out of it. So I mean, it's a good thing. Now, for people who are afraid that their past may preclude them from getting a TWIC card, the only criminal activity that I'm aware of that will preclude you from getting a TWIC card are crimes that include violent offenses. If you are convicted of a weapons charge or aggravated assault or something along those lines, that may preclude you from being able to obtain a TWIC. Other than that, possession charges, things like that will not stop you from getting one. So there is a hurdle there that some people are going to have to cross. Because we do know that there are people who have done their time, who have served their sentence and pay their debt to society, who get into trucking. I get that, but if TWIC comes into play, it may continue to exclude some of those individuals. So that is something that does need to be addressed as they continue to plan down that road. I personally support TWIC. I used to have one because I worked in the maritime industry. My TWIC expired back in November, and I'm still contemplating reactivating that. But like I said, it's good for 5 years, folks. It's not bad to have by any stretch of the imagination. Anything else, Kate?
Nope.
We are going to make sure that a copy of this video, is at least a link to it, is going to be included on the new Freight Fraud Task Force website, members.freightfraudtaskforce.com. Please be sure to check that out when you get a chance. We are still in the process of finishing building it, but we are accepting registrations for people to test the platform. We are also working on curating content to put onto that platform, which will again include this particular video, so that folks can reference the information that that Ken had just put out there. With that being said, folks, we're going to go ahead and start to wrap this up. Again, special thanks to Accubid Pro for their time as a sponsor of this show. This is their last show with us. So again, Jimmy, thank you so much for your love and support over the last year, and you will always be a friend to us here on Stop the Scam. Folks, as you know, Stop the Scam is live Monday through every Monday, 1 p.m. Central Time on all the Lounge Media Group social media outlets. You can also reach Kate or myself if you have any issues. Kate at kprice at stopthescampodcast.com. Myself, Jay Cantera at stopthescampodcast.com. Please be sure to check out our sponsors and preferred vendors on our website, vigilanttransport.com/stop-the-scam-podcast. And show your support today, including to us, because, hey, we don't have any sponsors anymore. So if you like what we do and you like for us to continue to do these investigations and exposés for free, help us out. buy us a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/stopthescampodcast, and you can donate to help keep the work that we do free. Guys, it is hot out, especially if you're in the Southeast. It has been absolutely broiling lately. It's not going to get that much better anytime soon. Stay safe out there, please. And whatever you do, don't let scammers take you for a ride. We'll see you again next week.